Master Tom here. Today we're going to be going over the low-high Kempo. It's the first Kempo we learn at white belt. I get a lot of questions that people ask me, what are the difference between combinations and Kempos? So combinations are basically techniques that have been passed on. You know, their roots and history are more based with Kaji Kempo, which is a similar branch of Kempo karate. That's a whole other video on the history of combinations and Kempos and things like that. But Kempo techniques are animal techniques or other techniques that were taken from different other arts and kind of added into the system. So you have your combinations, which are a little bit more structured across the board with all Shaolin Kempo karate schools. Kempos can vary depending on what school you guys attend and what they actually incorporated into their curriculum. So some Kempos that I teach you might not have in your curriculum, but again, this is what we teach here at our dojo. So we're going to do low-high Kempo at white belt. Come on, let's go. So when Pat punches in, and we're going to do our low-high Kempo, first block is going to be a cross block coming across here. Now, some details we have with this cross block is I'm not blocking, and without the punch here for a second, I'm not blocking straight across. There's actually two things that are going on here. I'm actually blocking across, down, and out slightly, okay? So what happens is when Pat punches in, and as I'm blocking his hand here, it's not going to be close to my body. So if I do block his forearm, and when I do block, I want to block in his meaty part of his forearm here. So I want to be blocking in this section between his wrist and his elbow. I don't want to be too low, I don't want to be too high, so I want to get in this little section right here. So when I'm blocking across here, if I have my arm too close and too straight, perpendicular this way, and I block and I'm a little too far in, and I do catch the bend of his elbow, this can wrap around and give me a nice shot. So we don't want that to happen. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to angle my arm slightly out. So I'm not going to say a 45-degree angle, but we're just going to have a slight angle this way here. Also, as he punches in, I'm not going straight across with that. I'm going to have a slight downward angle coming in this way. I want to try to get, in theory, in my head, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to get my arm, or his arm and his elbow, to the outside of his foot. So when he punches in, if he's got a nice strong punch, and his punch is right over his front knee here, I want this arm to get past the outside of his foot. So as I block here, I'm blocking in and down. So I want to get right there. Now it's past his knee, on the outside, towards his foot. That's the angle I want. That now drops his weight and brings all of his weight to this knee here. Now we're talking in a freeze frame, split second instance. A lot of people will call this skeletal freezing, because at this moment I'm kind of freezing and stopping his body, and there's really not much he can do from this one spot. This is only a minute millisecond. So don't get, you know, everybody's like, oh man, I got to make sure I get that skeletal freeze. He won't be able to hit me. He's going to be able to hit you. Just, it's going to take him a second to get reorientated. But as he's doing that, that's when we're going to do our next attack. So now, right from here, the biggest thing is right off this block. What I need to do now is I need to get to his center line, and I need to be perpendicular to his center line. So once I'm here, I'm not doing my low high, and I'm not going to step in. If I step in here into my side horse stance, and I do my hammer strike, look where this is going, right to his thigh. This is not my target. I want to go to the groin. So after I hit here, what I need to do is I need to get to this center line. So from here, I'm going to take a step. You might have to, every time you do it, it might be slightly different depending on how the person punches in and reacts off of your block. So from here, I'm going to step in and get to this side horse stance. And I want to be, again, perpendicular to his center line here. And now, right from this block, I'm going to drop my hammer strike to the groin. Right from here, I'm going to bring this hand in. My elbow is going to come into my body, and then I'm going to come up with a back knuckle punch under the chin. Okay? So watching again, we're doing it slow just so you guys can see. So I'm cutting across, bang, here with this block. The big thing that low high is teaching you guys is to strike from where your hand is. I'm not coming back on guard, so I'm not blocking and coming back on guard. I'm blocking, I'm stepping, and this hand is coming right to the groin. I'm getting perpendicular. This hand's to the groin. This hand is a check. I'm either checking his hand again. If he decides to throw another punch back at me, I have this check here. If he throws his punch here, I have this check here. After I hit him in the groin and his head comes down, I might poke him in the eyes. Those are all bonuses, but this hand has got to be here as a check to be prepared for any of this. Now, again, I'm going to bring this elbow into my body. As I bring this in, this punch is going to come up and straight up and out. So we're not making an uppercut, we're coming up and out, okay? So Kempo again, we'll do one more time slow. So here, I'm gonna create this angle, bang, again, perpendicular, get to a center line. This hand is checking, this hand comes up, back knuckle punch, up and out. So we'll do it one more time a little bit faster. So this punch comes in, block, strike, strike. And we can do it one more time, just to give you guys some little extra tips too. Blocking here, I'm coming in. You'll see sometimes more advanced people might come in and you'll actually see them kind of check. You might have caught me when I did it fast. I might have had a little bit of a little check there. So you can have a little bit of check here, just don't get excited. You'll see people like, and turning this into a block. It's not another block. That's another Kempo for another day. So this is the initial block. This might come in and make contact here, but it's just a quick little check. That's a strike to the groin. This comes up, come up and out, and right from there. One more thing that I like to add, those that have combination 6 and 7, we went over crossing and covering. I am an advocate for crossing and covering on every combo in Kempo. So if you have a combo Kempo and it doesn't, officially have a cross and cover, add one anyway. And it doesn't necessarily have to be a traditional cross and cover. So if Pat punches in and I'm doing low high, bang, I'm in here, bang, bang. You could cross and cover out, step out, create some space. Always just be aware when you're done with your combos. So if you're practicing with your partner, I don't want you guys to just be here. Okay, Pat, your turn. Okay, go. I'd rather you guys be here. Bang, bang. Let me step out. Check. Okay, good. All right, Pat, your turn. And we practice back and forth that way. All right, so here we're going to do it on the other side so you guys can see from this angle. So we're blocking here. Boom. Now what I do is I got to step in, get to that perpendicular, get right to his center line. Hammer strike to the groin. Back knuckle punch to the chin. Cross out. So that is the low high Kempo. Again, we're learning blocking. One more tip, actually. One more tip, Pat. Sorry. I know I might talk a lot, but I do have a lot of information to give you guys with these. The big thing too is a lot of times people will do their low high Kempo and they'll step as they block. So they'll do this, and they kind of do this and step and as they block and trying to create this angle at the same time. More advanced students can do that when you're more comfortable with your footwork. But right now, this is a white belt Kempo, so we got to treat ourselves like we're white belt students right now. White belt student, when a punch comes in, is not going to see a punch and go, hey, let me get closer to this punch. They're not going to be comfortable with that. White belt student's going to want to knock this punch out of the way. So the whole point is when he punches in, I'm just knocking this out of the way first, and now let me step in and do my strike. So without Pat there for a second, it's not block and strike. It's block first. I drop my weight. Everything turns. There's my block. Now I step in. Bang, bang, and step out. And that is low high.